My name is Maren Whitfield. I am 41 years old. And 3 months ago, I discovered that the man I had called my husband for 11 years had been living an entire second life without me. His name was Adrian Vale. He was 39. For most of our marriage, people thought Adrian was dependable, charming, busy, polished in that harmless corporate way. He worked in pharmaceutical sales, which meant travel, late flights, regional meetings, hotel receipts, and endless explanations I never questioned. Because trust had always felt like the foundation of our home. We had 2 children together. Lily was 9. Jacob was 7. I was a teacher. So during the summers, I was with them constantly. I packed lunches. I drove them to swimming lessons. I remembered dentist appointments, permission slips, the exact stuffed animal Jacob needed. When he had nightmares, Adrian was away often. But I told myself that was sacrifice. That was what responsible adults did. They worked. They provided. They came home tired. At least, that was the story I had been living inside. It started on an ordinary Thursday evening. Adrian's phone died while he was standing in the kitchen. Tapping the black screen like annoyance could resurrect it. He gave this little frustrated laugh and asked to borrow mine to call a work contact about covering a client meeting. I handed it over, without thinking. He dialed the number from memory. Spoke for less than a minute. Then gave my phone back. Nothing dramatic happened. No suspicious whisper. No sudden panic. He even kissed the top of my head before walking away. But he forgot to close the recent calls. Later that night, while clearing notifications, I saw the number he had called. No name saved in my phone. Of course. But something made me copy it. I still do not know why. Maybe instinct. Maybe God. Maybe some quiet part of me had been collecting clues long before my mind was brave enough to see them. I searched the number online. The contact result came up linked to a woman named Vanessa Morrison. Then I checked Adrian's social media from my own account. Nothing. His pages were clean. Boring. Almost aggressively normal. Work posts. Kids' birthdays. A photo of us at Christmas where he had his arm around me and looked like a faithful man. Then I remembered something. Years ago, Adrian had mentioned making a LinkedIn profile for networking. I searched his name. 2 profiles appeared. Adrian Vale. My husband. Living in our city. Pharmaceutical sales consultant. Married father of 2, and Adrian Morrison. Same face. Same smile. Samaman, different last name. That profile listed him as a regional sales director living in a city 4 hours away. His relationship status said married. The profile picture showed him in a gray wedding suit, standing beside a woman in a white dress I had never seen before. Vanessa Morrison, his wife. I remember the sound my body made before I understood I was crying. It was not a sob. It was smaller than that. A broken little breath. Like my lungs had forgotten the rules. I kept digging. Vanessa Morrison existed. She owned a boutique event planning business. She and Adrian had a house together. I found the property records online. The deed had been signed 2 months after our 7th wedding anniversary. 2 months after he took me to dinner, held my hand across the table, and told me he could not imagine growing old with anyone else. But the worst part was still coming. They had children, twin boys, 3 years old. I stared at a family photo on Vanessa's public business page. Adrian holding one toddler, Vanessa holding the other. Matching Christmas pajamas. A fireplace behind them. His wedding ring visible on his hand. Not the ring I gave him. A different one. For a while, I could not move. The house was quiet except for the dishwasher humming and Lily laughing at something on her tablet upstairs. I remember thinking, absurdly, that I needed to fold the laundry before it wrinkled. Then I thought, how How does a man have 2 homes, 2 wives, 4 children, and still come home asking what we are having for dinner? I hired a private investigator. It felt dramatic. It felt humiliating. But I needed proof before I confronted him. Because Adrian had always been good with words. Too good. He could turn a question into an accusation. He could make doubt feel like cruelty. The investigator found more than betrayal. Adrian had another identity entirely. A different social security number, stolen from a man who had died as a child. A different driver's license. Different financial accounts. Different tax filings. The travel schedule I had accepted for years was not travel. It was rotation. Monday morning. He left our house for sales calls. Monday through Wednesday. He lived with Vanessa and their twins. Wednesday night. He came home to me. Exhausted from his fake work trip. Fridays were admin days at home with us. Every other weekend. He had regional meetings. Regional meetings meant Vanessa. The logistics were horrifying, because they were brilliant. He had built 2 lives so carefully that neither woman could see the edges of the other. I sat with the evidence for 2 weeks. I downloaded both LinkedIn profiles. I printed property records. I read the PI report until the words blurred. I even drove 4 hours to Vanessa's neighborhood on a Tuesday and saw Adrian's car in her driveway. My husband's car, parked outside another woman's home like it belonged there. That Sunday morning, Adrian stood in our kitchen, making pancakes for the kids. He was laughing at something on his phone. I asked, "What's funny?" He smiled without looking up. Vanessa sent me a video of the twins trying to sing happy birthday to her mom. They're at that age where everything is hilarious. He said it casually, so casually that for 1 second I wondered if I had imagined everything. Then he froze, only half a second. But I saw it. "Who's Vanessa?" I asked. His face shifted through calculation. Irritation. Charm. Work colleague. He said, "Her kids are adorable. Can I see?" His hand tightened around the phone. "It's nothing interesting." I looked at the man I had loved for more than a decade. The father of my children. The stranger in my kitchen. Adrian. I said quietly, "Who is Vanessa?" And then he did something I will never forget. He laughed. Not nervously. Not with shame. He laughed like I had finally caught up to a joke he had been telling alone for years. "Well," he said, leaning back against the counter, "I guess the cat's out of the bag. This is my second family now," Adrian said. He delivered the sentence with the same relaxed tone someone might use to admit they had bought a new car or accepted a promotion. For several seconds, I simply stared at him. "My second family," I repeated. "Oh. Modern. Don't be so dramatic." He rolled his eyes and shrugged. "Life isn't always simple. Sometimes people build complicated situations." Complicated. My voice came out quieter than I expected. "You're married to another woman." "Well, technically that marriage isn't completely legal, because I used different documents." He actually smiled, as if identity theft were some clever accounting trick. "So, you've committed identity theft and bigamy. You're making it sound ugly." "It is ugly." "No." He folded his arms. "It's unconventional." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He wasn't frightened. He wasn't ashamed. He wasn't even pretending to apologize. He genuinely believed he had done something impressive. "I love both my families," he continued. "I've never abandoned anyone. I've made sure everyone was provided for. You lied to both of us. I managed 2 households. You deceived 2 women. I gave everyone what they needed." His confidence made my skin crawl. "How long?" I whispered. "About 4 years?" 4 years. I know it sounds difficult. But honestly, you should appreciate how much work it took. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because my brain refused to process that sentence. "You expect me to appreciate the effort you put into betraying me. You're focusing on the wrong thing." "Oh, yes." He walked closer. Think about Lily and Jacob. If you report this, you'll destroy their family. You destroyed this family. I kept it together. No. I said. You split it in half. His expression hardened. You've always been emotional. And you've always been a liar. For the first time that morning, the smile disappeared. You're overreacting. I have the PI report. Silence. I have both LinkedIn profiles. His jaw tightened. I have photographs of your house with Vanessa. He blinked once. And I have proof that the identity you used belongs to someone else. That finally reached him. The confidence flickered. Only for a second. Then he recovered. You won't report me. Why? Because you're a good mother. I failed to see the connection. You'll never risk sending your children's father to prison? There it was. Not remorse. Calculation. He still believed I would protect him. I walked upstairs without another word. Lily was helping Jacob build a blanket fort in the living room. Grandma wants to see you both today. I told them. Their faces lit up. Within 20 minutes, we were in the car driving toward my mother's house. Adrian called 6 times before I reached the highway. I ignored every call. Then, the text started. You're making this bigger than it is. Let's calm down. Think about the children. Don't involve outsiders. We can work this out. You've always been reasonable. By the time I arrived at my mother's house, there were 31 messages. My mother took one look at my face and said nothing. She simply hugged me. I cried for nearly an hour. That evening, I made the hardest decision of my life. Vanessa deserved to know she was as much a victim as I was. I found her business email and attached everything. Our marriage certificate, family photographs spanning 11 years, the investigator's report, property documents, photographs of Adrian's car outside her home. I stared at the send button for almost 5 minutes. Then I pressed it. She called 43 minutes later. The first thing I heard was crying. Not loud crying. The exhausted kind. The kind that sounds like someone whose entire future has just collapsed. This isn't real. She whispered. I wish it weren't. He's here. What? He told me he was working from home today. My stomach twisted. He told me he had meetings. So, he's with you? Yes. Silence. Then, she spoke again. We've been married for 4 years. I know. We have twin boys. I know. He said he traveled constantly because he managed multiple sales territories. He told me exactly the same thing. She began crying harder. We've been trying for another baby. I closed my eyes. I am so sorry. No, she said. I'm sorry for both of us. For nearly 3 hours, we compared our lives, every business trip, every holiday, every anniversary, every excuse, every lie fit together like pieces of one enormous puzzle. The conferences, the delayed flights, the regional meetings, the sudden client dinners. He had copied entire stories from one household and recycled them in the other. Even the gifts. One Christmas, he gave me a silver bracelet. Vanessa received the exact same bracelet in gold. Same engraving, different names. He always said honesty mattered more than anything. Vanessa whispered, so did mine. We're talking about the same man. Yes. He made me feel like I was the safest place in his life. He told me I was his home. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, she said something that surprised me. I don't hate you. I don't hate you either. We were never competing. No. He made us believe we were the only one. By the end of that call, we made a decision. Neither of us would protect him. We would cooperate completely. Separate attorneys. Separate police reports. Shared evidence. The next morning, Adrian began panicking. He called over 50 times. He left Retta voice message. Maren. Please answer. You're destroying our lives. You're letting strangers manipulate you. You're making a mistake. Then came the threats. If you contact Vanessa again, you'll regret it. An hour later, Vanessa texted me. He sang the same things to me. He still thought he could keep both women. He still believed he was the smartest person in every room. 3 days later, he appeared at my school during lunch. He walked into the faculty lounge carrying flowers. Several teachers smiled politely, assuming he was another supportive husband making a romantic gesture. "Can we talk?" he asked. "No. You're embarrassing yourself. I think you've already handled that." He lowered his voice. "Please stop this." "You mean stop telling the truth? You're having some kind of breakdown." Several colleagues looked over. He noticed the audience and suddenly changed tactics. His face filled with concern. "Maren hasn't been sleeping," he told one of my coworkers. "She's become convinced I have another wife. I'm honestly worried about her mental health." The room fell silent. He was trying to erase me, trying to make me look unstable, trying to convince everyone that I had imagined the entire nightmare. I slowly unlocked my phone. I opened the wedding photograph. Then I held it where everyone could see. "This," I said calmly, "is my husband marrying another woman." The room was so quiet I could hear the humming of the vending machine in the corner. Every teacher's eyes moved from my phone to Adrian. He stared at the wedding photograph for a heartbeat before forcing a nervous laugh. "It's from a commercial shoot," he said quickly. "I did some promotional modeling years ago." I opened another photo. This one showed him signing the marriage certificate, then another, the deed to the house, then the investigator's report. "Was the property deed part of the commercial too?" I asked. His face drained of color. He grabbed my wrist. "Maren, we need to talk. Privately." I pulled my arm away. "No." His voice sharpened. "You're humiliating me. You've been humiliating me for 4 years." Suddenly, his expression changed. The tears came instantly. Huge, dramatic tears. "How could you do this to our children?" he cried loudly enough for everyone to hear. "They need their father. They need a father who doesn't build 2 families on lies." He looked around the room, searching for sympathy. Instead, he found silence. One of the teachers quietly asked, "Is any of this true?" Adrian looked at her, then at me. Then something inside him snapped. "You think you're so perfect," he shouted. "Do you have any idea how hard I've worked?" No one answered. "I gave both families everything." The words echoed through the faculty lounge. "I spent years making everyone happy." Another confession. "I barely slept." Another confession. "I sacrificed everything to keep both households together." By then, every phone in the room was recording. He realized it too late. Without another word, I walked out. That afternoon, I filed my police report. Identity theft. Bigame. Fraude. Tax-fraude. Forgery. The detective spent nearly 2 hours reading the documents. Every few pages he stopped and looked at me as though making sure this wasn't fiction. "In 23 years, he finally said, "I've never investigated anything quite like this." Meanwhile, Vanessa wasn't sitting still either. She hired a forensic accountant. Within days, another avalanche of evidence surfaced. Adrian hadn't only stolen an identity. He had opened credit cards under the false name, taken out loans, signed a vehicle lease, applied for apartments, filed taxes under multiple identities. Every discovery uncovered 3 more. The investigation spread beyond our county, then beyond the state. A week later, Adrian was still trying to manipulate everyone. He appeared at my mother's house during his scheduled visitation weekend. He arrived carrying flowers, apologies, promises. When my mother opened the door, he immediately burst into tears. "I made mistakes," he said, "but I never stopped loving Maren and the children." My mother quietly placed her phone face down on the hallway table, recording. "You married another woman," she replied. "That's paperwork." "No," my mother answered calmly. "Marriage is paperwork. Fraud is prison." He kept talking. "I only wanted everyone to be happy." "You wanted yourself to be happy. There isn't a difference." "There is. You don't understand modern relationships." "I understand honesty." He left empty-handed. The recording later became part of the investigation. Then he tried Vanessa's family. He showed up outside her sister's workplace, begging her to convince Vanessa to withdraw the complaint. He claimed Vanessa was pregnant and needed him. The story fell apart almost immediately. Vanessa's sister laughed in disbelief. Vanessa had undergone surgery months earlier, that made pregnancy medically impossible. Adrian hadn't even known. He had been too busy dividing his life to notice what was happening in either family. The arrest happened 2 days later. Police met him outside Vanessa's house, while he was collecting personal belongings under supervision. He never saw them coming. The warrant had already been signed. Neighbors watched from their windows as officers placed him in handcuffs. Doorbell cameras recorded everything. He shouted that both women were jealous, that society couldn't handle a man who loved more than one family, that he was being persecuted for refusing outdated expectations. None of it mattered. He was taken away. His attorney contacted mine within 48 hours. Their proposal was astonishing. If I encouraged Vanessa to withdraw her cooperation, Adrian would voluntarily give me full custody of Lily and Jacob. My attorney smiled. He's facing decades in federal prison, she said. This isn't a negotiation. Then, federal investigators became involved. The identity theft crossed state lines. The case exploded. They discovered Adrian had begun creating additional identities that neither Vanessa nor I knew existed. There were unfinished apartment applications, new bank accounts, credit inquiries, dating profiles, evidence that he had been preparing for even more parallel lives. It was as if two families had never been enough. His parents managed to post a massive bond. For less than a week, he was free. During that week, he made the worst decision of his life. He streamed live on social media. For nearly 20 minutes, he insisted society forced successful men to divide themselves. He described himself as a visionary. He claimed traditional marriage was outdated. He admitted maintaining 2 marriages because he believed love shouldn't be limited. He mentioned both Vanessa and me by name. He accused us of destroying an extraordinary life because we were too insecure to share him. The prosecutors watched every second. His own live stream became evidence. Additional charges followed. Witness intimidation, publique admission. His bond was revoked. He returned to jail. Months later, he accepted a plea agreement. 8 years in federal prison. Possible parole after 5. Every fraudulent asset forfeited. Both marriages annulled. Parental rights terminated. The sentencing hearing was unforgettable. Adrian arrived wearing a conservative suit, hoping to look like a respectable father who had simply made poor choices. His attorney argued he had acted from love, that he became overwhelmed trying to care for everyone. Then, the prosecutor played the live stream. The courtroom sat in complete silence. Finally, the judge removed his glasses. "Mr. Adrian Vale," he said slowly. "I've presided over criminal cases for 3 decades. Your operation required extraordinary planning. Unfortunately for you, extraordinary planning in service of fraud remains fraud." When Adrian stood to speak, I hoped just for a moment that he would apologize. He didn't. Instead, he lifted his chin. "I refuse to apologize for wanting a bigger life," he said. "People judge me because I refused to choose. I loved both families." The judge looked at him for several long seconds. "Your greatest crime," he replied, "was believing everyone else existed solely to support your fantasy." His complete lack of remorse became part of the sentencing record. As I left the courthouse, Vanessa was waiting outside. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she hugged me. Not because either of us had won, because we had both survived. Months have passed since then. Our children have met once at a park. It was awkward, gentle, confusing. We are not forcing a relationship, but we are leaving the door open. After all, none of them chose this. Lily once asked me whether her father was sorry. I thought carefully before answering. "Some people," I told her, "I don't know how to be sorry. They only know how to be caught." Vanessa and I still talk occasionally, mostly about the children, sometimes about healing. The strangest part is that the woman I once believed had stolen my husband never stole anything from me. She had been deceived just as completely as I had. Adrian lost everything because he believed he was clever enough to build a perfect lie forever. He forgot one simple truth. A lie can survive for years, but the truth only needs one moment.